It's early morning here at Witch Hollow Homestead on a Saturday. Thank you for joining me today. I am going to show you how I make miso paste, but first I thought I would give you a little sneak peek into what a typical Saturday morning looks like around here. This was recorded in November because miso paste takes several months to make while it sits and ferments. And this is when our weather was nice. It was really beautiful in November and December. This is our new chest freezer that we bought. We're gonna fill it this year with a whole bunch of homegrown vegetables, but I wanted to come out and get some tofu out since I plan on making something with tofu for dinner. Really happy with this new freezer. I did get one bigger than I thought it was gonna be, but that's perfectly fine. There are all the strawberries and blueberries that I harvested last season. And then we have our frozen veggies, which are going to become less store-bought and more homegrown this year. We are getting ready to head out for a morning run. Right now, while recording this voiceover, it feels so good to see so much green outside because right now everything has melted from the winter and it's brown and tan and pretty gross. Once we're back and showered, it's time to get started on making this incredible miso paste. Here are the ingredients and the measurements for this recipe. And this is not my recipe. It comes from a cookbook called Fermentation Revolution, which I will show you in a brief moment. I began by soaking the soybeans overnight in filtered water so that they will expand and I can get a bunch of the skins off. And soaking them helps speed up the cooking process, even though the cooking process is still pretty long. The salt I'm going to use for the fermentation is this fine sea salt, and this is the same salt that I use when I ferment all of my other foods like pickles and peppers and such. Here is the recipe that we will be following, and this is the book that it's from. Love, love, love this book. Highly recommend it if you want to learn all about fermentation. I am going to drain the soybeans that I had been soaking overnight. Give them a quick rinse, and then I'm going to add them to my large stock pot and fill the pot up to just above the soybeans with filtered water. And I measured it out just so you have an idea. I filled it with 16 cups of water. I'm going to put this pot on my stove, and I'm going to use my burner that's the power boil burner. This is the one I also use for canning, and I'm going to turn it to medium heat and bring it all to a boil. Once you get a rolling boil going, as you can see here, you start to get this foam as well as the skins go to the top. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a large spoon and you're going to just ladle or spoon off the foam along with the excess skins. And you're just going to discard that. As you keep skimming the foam and the skins off the top, eventually your water will look like this. As you can see, there is very little foam left coming to the surface. And I'm going to now put this on medium-low heat with the lid on and slowly cook them anywhere between 3 and 5 hours. And every so often, I do come over and give it a good stir, making sure I reach the bottom of the pot. I probably stir them every 20 to 30 minutes or so. Make sure that you're checking your soybean every hour. Just pull one out and feel it, smush it, see if it's starting to get soft, because that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that nice soft bean consistency. That's how you know when they're done. I have a metal bowl underneath my metal strainer, and I'm going to bring my pot over and strain off the liquid, but I want to make sure that I keep some of the liquid, which is why I have a bowl under the strainer. since it's a long cooking process, obviously you're already deep into your day and you want to cool these soybeans pretty quickly so that you can go to the next step of the process. What I like to do is put them in a glass dish, spread them out, or even better, because I found this worked way faster this time, get out your metal baking sheet and spread them into a thin layer on your baking sheet. They will cool much faster that way. And considering I filmed this back in November, I put them in our garage because our garage isn't heated. It was probably an hour later and they were all cooled. So that really sped up the process. I am keeping 4 cups of my soybean broth. And the extra broth from cooking the soybeans, it is great to keep and freeze it if you'd like, and then mix it in when you're making vegetable broth next time. It adds such a nice, rich flavor, and no need to waste this delicious broth. It's an hour later, and my beans have cooled, so now I'm going to mix the other ingredients together in a bowl, and we're going to add the koji, the filtered water, and the salt, the one last ingredient that I need is 1 tablespoon of miso paste that's already established. And this is from my last batch of miso paste that I made last year that was ready in August. So it lasts really long. We're going to mix together the koji, the water, salt, and the miso paste. We're going to take our cooled soybeans and put them in a food processor and grind them up. It depends on if you like your miso paste a little chunky or if you like it really smooth. So grind as much as you want or as little as you want. We like ours kind of in the middle. We like a little bit of chunks in there, but also some nice smoothness. We're going to add these soybeans into our koji mixture in the bowl. Once all the soybeans are ground and added to the bowl, I'm going to put on some kitchen gloves, and this is the fun part. I am going to work these soybeans and my koji mixture together, making sure I get everything incorporated. While you're mixing, I have the soybean liquid here, and you can tell if it's real dry and not sticking together. You're going to add a little bit of the soybean liquid into your mixture just so it becomes a nice paste, and you're looking for it to stick together into a ball. So here I am making sure it sticks together in a ball, and as you can see, it still kind of crumbles apart. So I'm going to add a little bit more liquid. After working it a little bit longer and adding a little bit more liquid, this miso paste is ready to ferment. We're going to use this medium-sized fermentation crock, and I have weights to put on top of it. This part is really, really fun. You're going to make kind of like tennis-sized balls out of your miso paste and push it together really well. And then you're going to take it and throw it into your miso crock. The reason you're going to do that is because that presses all of the air out so that there's no trapped air in between your miso paste for it to mold anywhere. So great stress relief, have fun with it. It does make a little bit of a mess because you do get a little splatter, and who cares, you can clean it up. Once you have all the miso paste into your crock, you're going to take the back of your hand and gently press it down, making sure that there's no air pockets and making it an even surface to put your weights and your salt. I also like to take a damp paper towel and wipe down the insides all the way until the miso paste starts. I'm going to take the salt that I used in the miso paste and top the miso. So first I'm going to go all around the edges to prevent any mold from getting down in, and then I'm going to sprinkle salt over the entire top. This next step I have tried a lot of different things for, and I have found, sadly, the only thing that works is plastic. I hate using plastic in anything, especially food. But for this case, plastic wrap is the best way to go. I've tried parchment, I've tried wax paper, and it all just gets really gross and really moldy and quite funky. So I'm going to use plastic wrap, and I'm going to press it down in on top the miso paste and make it even all the way around, trying to make sure I also cover the sides as well. Then I'm going to add in our jar weights, and I have 2 weights that go with this jar. So I will place them in gently. I'm going to place this stretchy silicone lid on the top. And miso paste likes to ferment in the dark, so I am going to take a cloth that I made that is 3 pieces of muslin together and throw that over the top to keep it nice and dark. I am going to place this on a shelf and let it sit covered for 4 months. It's been 4 months, and now it's time to pull our miso paste out and get it in jars to let it ferment for another 2 months in the refrigerator. This is the first time I'm taking the cover off and the lid, so let's see how we did with managing the mold situation. This is the best I've ever done in preventing the mold growth on top of the miso paste. I usually have a lot more than this, and I'm really happy with how this one specifically has turned out. First thing I'm going to do is scrape off the entire top that has the mold in it. And I'm going to be very careful to not dig down in as I do this. I'm just going to scrape the surface and the sides. Once it's cleaned off, you can see none of the mold went down in. And that's exactly what you're looking for. You want to make sure mold didn't grow underneath. So this miso paste is ready for the next step, which is placing it in jars and storing it in the refrigerator. Before I start scooping, the one other thing I did was take a paper towel and wipe the outside of the jar where I was pulling the mold up, just because, again, I don't want to get any of that against my good miso paste. I'm going to take some old miso jars that I have from when we used to buy miso paste, and I'm going to be storing some of it in these miso jars. I'm also going to use glass ball mason jars. Similar to when we were putting the miso paste in this crock to ferment, I like to press all the air out of it so that there's no room for any mold to grow. So you're going to put a couple of scoops in your jars, and then you're going to take a spoon or a spatula and press it down hard, making sure all that air is released. And because I don't want extra air in the jars, I am going to fill these jars right up to the brim. Flatten it out and put the lids on. This miso paste is ready to use now, and it will taste good, but it's going to have a much more mature taste if you let it sit for another 2 months in your refrigerator to ferment. And when it goes in the refrigerator, it will continue to ferment for as long as you have it. As I had mentioned in the beginning, I have miso paste from August of 2024 that I'm still using. And I don't know if you can tell from here, but that miso paste had a little bit of a darker color because it has sat longer in the fermentation process. So the longer this sits, the darker it will get, and it will have a more matured flavor. Thank you so much for joining me today at Witch Hollow Homestead. I hope you found this video helpful and inspiring. If you have any questions, comment below. Happy homesteading!